This is Commissioner Linker. I'm going to call the meeting to order. I know Commissioner Seiss is trying to get on. She's having some technical problems, but we have quorum, so we're just going to go ahead and kind of keep an eye out for her, but start our meeting. So we're going to start with the call to order. So Dr. Fair, as we did before, if you just want to just go down and call our names and then we'll respond.
All right. Commissioner William Cheshire. Commissioner Angela Flowers.
Commissioner Flowers present.
Commissioner Hannah Jimenez.
Commissioner Jimenez present.
Commissioner Kathleen Linker.
Commissioner Kathleen Linker present.
Commissioner Lindsay Seiss.
Commissioner Lindsay Seiss present.
So we have quorum.
Right. So the next order of business is the approval of the minutes. If you've had a chance to look at the minutes, when you're ready, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes, and then I'll need a second.
Commissioner Jimenez, make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay. Commissioner Jimenez made a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Commissioner Seiss, motion to second.
Commissioner Seiss has a second. Dr. Fair, if you want to do the roll call for us to vote.
Okay. Commissioner Angela Flowers.
Commissioner Flowers, aye.
Commissioner Hannah Jimenez.
Commissioner Jimenez, aye.
Commissioner Kathleen Linker.
Commissioner Kathleen Linker, aye.
Commissioner Lindsay Seiss.
Commissioner Lindsay Seiss, aye.
Okay. That takes the unanimous approval of the minutes, which gets us down to the nitty gritty. Canvas course creation, just kind of looking at where we stopped from the last time that we met. Before I start, I made myself a note just to make a general statement. I think we understand as a subcommittee, but the work that we're doing is fluid. And because it's under creation, changes are going to be made as we go along through the process. We have put out some peer review, and while I know that at least one person has viewed it, they haven't finished completing the review form. And one of the other commission members who's going to do the peer review has asked for an extension. And so we're going to give her that time. So we'll continue push out the deadline for the peer review on the commissioner's course. And so that's where we stand on that one. I don't think any changes have been made, but if Commissioner Seiss or Commissioner Jimenez, if you want to speak to that, since the last time we haven't made any changes.
Commissioner Jimenez, no, we have not made any changes. We're waiting for the feedback from the peer review.
Okay, so we'll just push that off till the next review, which gets us to the second Canvas course. So if you haven't already, if you can log in so you can look at it. I've added some stuff. Commissioner Jimenez helped me work through some of the kinks that I was having on my end, and then I'm trying to add some other things to the course. So you'll see some things have been added. In the student view, I had it check where you have to mark complete and go through sequential order, but that was before I added some additional slides, and so it probably won't be a good view for the student view right now, so I can go in and change to make things requirements that kind of controls the flow of the first 3 modules. So that the idea being that the landing page, when the advisors log on, and then they will either mark complete if it's a page that we want to make sure that they've seen, or mark or signify that they've read something by submitting their name. And then there were a couple of the logistical things that needed to be added. So if you'll take a minute, if you haven't done so already, and open up the advisors course, you'll see the modules. So I'm gonna give everybody a second to make sure they have it pulled up before we kind of go over it. So to the first module, which is the welcome. So when they open up, of course, they're going to land on the general opening page. That's the same. That hadn't changed. But in the welcome module, if you click on, you'll see I've added something that says goals for the course, because I've realized when I was working on it the other night that we didn't say specifically what the goals were for the course. And I think that's a nice thing to have. And the way that the goals are, at this point, there are 3 goals. And under the 3 goals are like little sub areas. And that's also going to be the flow or the order of the course. So the first goal is to provide an overview of the textbook evaluation and adoption process. And that's actually the first module. And that's when we talk about who is involved, who being where, the textbook commission, the Board of Education, and DPI, and how everything comes together. And then the second part is what is the process, and that's where we get into some of the statutes and the laws that govern the work. And then the second goal is to provide information about the role of the textbook evaluation and advisor. And so the first part of that, the selection and qualification, is in the second module. And then we need to add some stuff for preparing for evaluation, like to prepare for that time. And I'll talk about that in a minute. And then the third goal is to provide a place to house reference materials. And so that then you'll have the modules for areas under review, which is math, CTE, and then we have ES and ELL and EC advisors. So you'll see there's modules created for those, but there's nothing in those modules yet. But within those modules will be links to the standards and the specific criteria sheets, just so that it's in one place. So back to the purpose, the overall purpose of the course is to have, basically, it's a one-stop shop where everything that advisors would need is going to be housed. And so when we talked at the beginning, when I mentioned that it's a fluid thing that's going to change and things will be added as we go through the process, one of the things that I see happening, the first 2 goals, or the first 2 to 3 modules, will be pre-evaluation week. They will be things that need to be checked off and seen before there is Dr. Fair has a webinar with the advisors to make sure there's not any questions and to go over documentation that they might need and that sort of stuff. Things that need to be occurred before that time. And a lot of the things that that we're going to add, which would go under the preparing for evaluation, there is something called the advisor's packet. And so this would also eventually take the place of the advisor's packet. But in the advisor's packet, as was used last evaluation for ELA, there were 4 things that they needed to do, they being the advisors, before the webinar. And one is they need to review the invitation. So I'm going to add a section for preparing for evaluation, and in that we will add the actual document, not a link to, but we'll download and put up the 100 and some odd page invitation with it as an assignment for them to indicate that yes, they've read it. And then we're going to put up the specific statutes that they need to have read. Some of them will be ahead in that same module or the module before. And so that'll address that part of the evaluator's packet. And then we'll have logistics, like requirements that they need for evaluation week, like they would need they need to bring a laptop, that sort of thing. And so there'll be a slide for that. So it's really going to kind of match the flow of the way that information was shared in the past in the webinar, as being the place to house all that information that they need. Any questions on kind of where so that part needs to be added. That's not in there now. You won't see you will not see the invitation in it currently. But I didn't want to do a link. We were originally going to do a link, and I really want it to be the actual where they can click on it and download it or view it from their computer without having to go to the website. We have any feedback on that? Any suggestions? Just on the goals? The other thing is that we had talked about, you know, and this word will kind of correlate with some of the things that will eventually be added to also the commission course. Is, for instance, at evaluation week, anything that is decided upon if we're in physical rooms, like who's going to start with what submission number. And we talked about making a Google Doc, and whoever's in the room commission-wise would be in charge of, you know, divvying that out and handling that logistical stuff. So once that's handled and there's a Google Doc with, you know, advisor A is going to start with submission number 110 and go to, you know, so as we try to pace them, that document will be housed in this course. We could use the announcement part of the course to put any sort of announcements that you want for that, either for that room or for all of the advisors together. Canvas gives us the ability to make groups, so we can group by room, or we can just say you're in this room, go to this place to see the information. And all that won't occur until we have the names to make the groups, et cetera, et cetera. We could also, if it's a venue and we have just logistical information on the site, and a lot of times we get a map of local restaurants and things like that, we can house it in the course. And so things like that can't be added until we have that information, but that will be in the last modules. So it's like a one-stop shop. Anything that an advisor needs to put their hands on will be located either in the course or a link within the course to that location. So if that makes sense, that makes the goal. So it all kind of connects the purpose. Then the second thing in that welcome module you'll see, and I haven't put anything in it yet because I just created it last night, the media release form. We had the third thing as a discussion and introduce yourself, and part of that assignment or that discussion was to upload a picture and then to tell just a little bit about themselves, kind of like an icebreaker sort of thing. But the DPI has a media release form that would need to be filled out before you can upload pictures and things, kind of give them permission, because this is a source controlled by DPI. And so you'll see that it's an assignment, and I kind of did the text part that just says the first thing that we need to do is you need to acknowledge that you've read and agreed to your image being used, and then there'll be an attachment where they can download those forms. Those forms can be then submitted through Canvas, but they would also probably need to bring a paper copy with them to the site at evaluation week. And so that needs to be added. It's a placeholder for it. And then after that, it didn't change. I mean, next is the introduce yourself, where they do that, where they, you know, we'd already looked at in the past. Then it talks about what is the commission. There were a couple of infographics that Dr. Fair had in the presentation that she does with the advisors that are really informative and very engaging. And so I'd like to work a way to incorporate some of those infographics, or at least placeholder for that sort of information that talks about how all the parts of the process go together. And so that'll be some additional slides that'll be added. And that, the only other thing that's been changed is I had a technical problem, and Commissioner Jimenez helped me work through it last, missed afternoon. And you will see it is fixed in the what is an advisor module. There is the advisor 2. It looks the same, but it's different. I had the board policy linked in it, and I couldn't get it to work. So we had to change, instead of embedding the image, we just uploaded the image, and then the entire picture is hyperlinked. So if you click on the picture, it should take you to that statute. And so having just figured out how to work around the glitch in that yesterday evening, I'll need to go back to the other slides that have links and repeat that process. And so the content's the same, but I'm gonna have to rework it so that if it has a hyperlink, that it's an accessible hyperlink. And the only other thing that that we really need input in, if you look under the why become an advisor, and there is the link to the flyer, and I need some input on what to add to that flyer, because when we were originally talking about you know, what are the perks, which is the second page, other than the salary, the travel reimbursement, certificate of completion with the number of contact hours. I'm not as familiar with them, but when we were in our first meeting there at DPI, we talked about the specific areas of the teacher evaluation that this would be, this participating in this opportunity would be documentation of meeting that area. And I know Commissioner Flowers and Commissioner Sykes were given some specific areas of evaluation.
I'm
So
sorry.
yeah, I need to know that. So I need, like, we need to know that, we need to add that to the flyer.
Okay, this Commissioner Sykes. So we said that definitely it would be hours for the knowing the content that they teach.
Okay.
It could possibly be leadership hours as well, because this is a role outside of their building that would impact their entire county.
Mm-hmm. Well, even the state for that matter, but yes.
Yeah. It should also be contact hours for, I wonder if they might be able to get some English language, what's it called?
Like literacy.
Literacy, because they're going to be reading nonstop for 5 days. So we might want to check and see if they can get literacy, because that's one that's hard to get sometimes if you're not in a content area subject. Like if you're in a
Right, because these are going to be math teachers or CTE teachers, allows them to get possibly some literacy or technology.
Well, I was going to say too, and I was going to say we should be able to do technology too, because there is a computer component to almost every vendor.
Right. So we could look at getting CEU credits for the possibility for literacy and digital learning. And then for the teacher evaluation form, tying it to the leadership goals.
Leadership and knowing the content that they teach you.
Commissioner Linker, this is Carmela.
Yes, ma'am.
What we normally do, and I will have to follow up with my colleagues in terms of how they do it for Canvas courses, but normally what we do, because DPI cannot issue CEUs, we normally describe certificate those things that are possible areas that the teachers or evaluators have covered or worked in during the time that they've done this. And then the district, of course, will make the decision about what they actually award the credits for, or if they award the credits even.
And that's how, I know each district's different, but that's how we do it in my district. We have to do an out of district proposal. We use Frontline, and then somebody has to ultimately approve. Yes, if you say you're using this many hours to this category, yes, we approve it, or no, we don't think it fits there, it goes in the other category. But we could suggest it. I mean, we could suggest that you could see, that they could check to see that if they meet the requirements for these areas. But specifically the teacher evaluation, the NCEES goals with leadership and knowing content, like we need to add that, or I can add that to that specific part where it says ... teacher evaluation areas. So those are the two goals from the NCEES, the knowing your content and then the leadership. Commissioner Flowers, did you have any other ones? Because you also know like the goal numbers.
I was just gonna add possibly the digital learning competencies, but I think Commissioner Seiss already said that, but I'm willing to help you work on this later.
Good. So that we can finish this up so that then it's completed. It'll be here, but then we can have it ready. So as soon as we have dates, we can, this flyer is what the listservs and all will push out for us. And that we can also send ourselves to people in the district or at the district level or schools that we, to let the people know the opportunity that's there. And I think that's it. So again, the advisors is still a work in progress. Although it is pretty solid in the flow, it's just filling in a couple of the holes to add a little of the materials and the flow. I have figured out the flow for making something where they just mark complete. It's not assignment, but it's important that they acknowledge that they've read it or they've seen that slide or that page. And then there's some that are actually going to be assignments, like the statutes that they need to review ahead of time, reviewing their invitation ahead of time. And it even says in the advisor's packet that they need to have looked at their standards ahead of time. And so all of those parts will be either marked complete so that we know that they've done it, or because remember, we're going to give them credit for that as part of their overall time. So we need to be able to verify that they've done those steps ahead, which is the purpose. The purpose is not to be a big brother. The purpose is for us to give them hours for that front work. We need to be able to document that they've actually completed that front work. Is there any other suggestions? You can try to do the student view. I know the pages I just added probably won't be in there because I have to go in and pick the page and then say if I want it to be marked complete. And it flowed well last night, but I have not looked at the student view since I've added a couple things today. So that's all that I have for our review. A quick discussion, and then we can, unless anybody has anything else, we can make a motion to adjourn. But we need to talk about when works with your schedules. I think my school's over. I mean, this is an optional day, but everybody else, but other people are in like at the end of the school year. So do you want to say 2 weeks from today or tomorrow? Do you want to push it out 3 weeks to come back together? And that'll be when we have the peer review finished due for the commissioners. And this will be finished by then, and we'll go ahead and push it out for review. Does 3 weeks work for with your calendars? Thinking about your calendars, Commissioner Flowers, Jimenez, and Seiss, and what's coming up in the next month. When would be a good time period to meet back, and then Dr. Fair will send out another doodle poll to figure a time.
This is Commissioner Seiss. I am physically done with everything June 3rd, so it really, whatever's good for you guys, because I know that Commissioner Jimenez and our piece is done, so we don't really have to worry about, it's you guys that need to have time to fix yours, so whatever time you need, I'm good with. Like, it doesn't really matter.
Commissioner Jimenez, yeah, I'm done June 5th, and so I can meet anytime, either 2 weeks or 3 weeks, whatever you guys think is best.
This is Commissioner Flowers. I'll be finishing on the 10th. So depending on how much you want me to help you with that little piece, I can do it in 2 or 3 weeks.
So if we look at the 11th, because in that way school's out of the way for Commissioner Flowers, or we could say the next week, like the 18th.
This Commissioner Seiss. Commissioner Linker, what's best for you? Because I know you've got a lot of stuff with the end of school.
I'd rather do it the 11th and be done with it.
Okay, I mean, that's fine by
At
me.
least that goal is having it pretty much, and I mean, like I said, it's gonna be fluid, and as people look at it, we might have think of something else to add or a
Yeah.
way to refine it. But I like the bulk of the advisory one to be complete for the initial parts at least, so that we can go on to other projects.
Yep.
But
June 11th, this is safe. June 11th is fine for me.
what is that, Mr. Flowers, is that pushing you? I know if you have school the 10th.
Yes, that's good, Commissioner Flowers, yes.
And Jimenez, does that interfere if you're doing anything with summer camps or anything?
Commissioner Jimenez, no, that's perfect.
Okay, so Dr. Fair, we'll put on our schedule that we'll come back and review again on the 11th, pushing out the review date for the commission course. I say we give them to the 10th to that. So we've got a chance to look at it before we meet on the 11th.
Okay.
And then if I can get finished in the advisor course, we can push it out for review also. Does that work? And so if you can do a doodle poll for times on the 11th, I mean, I'm pretty open on times, so it's whatever the majority is
This is
interested in.
Carmela, for the times for June the 11th, do you want afternoon times to choose from, or do you want late morning and afternoon times?
Let's do a late morning and afternoon, because if we're not in the building, people may be able to do a late morning and don't want to take up their afternoon having to be set.
Okay.
And if there's nothing else for discussion, and we're okay with that, then we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
Commissioner Seiss, motion to adjourn.
And if I can have a second, Commissioner Slice made the motion.
Commissioner Jimenez, second.
And so that's my second. So Dr. Fair, if you can do the roll call for us to vote.
All right. Commissioner Angela Flowers,
Commissioner Angela Flowers, aye.
Commissioner Hannah Jimenez,
Commissioner Jimenez, aye.
Commissioner Kathleen Linker,
Commissioner Kathleen Linker, aye.
Commissioner Lindsay Seiss,
Commissioner Lindsay Seiss, aye.
unanimous.
Okay, so with that, be looking for the doodle poll for the 11th, and feedback maybe on the 10th. I'll send you guys an email if I see that there's any information so that you know to go look at the forms. And with that, we are finished. Thank you all. Enjoy your rainy day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.